Y'all really think there's not going to be a solution, but there is, of course, going to be an outcome. Yes, there is going to be an outcome of of the fact that genetics are not balanced. Genetics are not in a natural state of balance. What does balance mean? Balance means that there has to be a certain number of mouths eating, male mouths. Males like to eat. Like in China, for example. In China, right now, there are five more males to every female that's just eating food. They're just mouths to feed. That's it. They're just eating mouths. There's just mouths that are eating. They're just eat. Okay, so they're just okay, and that means that the ecosystem is not in balance. Why? Because there's not enough food to feed all of those males who are not matched by enough females. In a natural state of balance, there are more females to males. Why? Because females eat less. They consume less resources. It's a problem. It's an emergency. It's a genetic emergency. And there is one gene, one identical gene that is global. And that is not the FOXP2 gene. No, the FOXP2 gene is extremely variable. The FOXP2 gene controls a lot. It controls a lot. Um, and but there is a gene, the tetrachromia gene, that is identical, and it's every single shade of skin on on this globe, on this planet. So what's going to happen? There is that one identical gene for doesn't matter what continent. I mean, there are like a few islands on the planet here that are not inhabited, but everywhere, literally everywhere where there are people living, there is an identical copy of a gene that um results in medical instinct. It only affects females. Yes, only females born all over the world have a 12% chance, 12.5% chance of being born with this identical genome, this identical segment of a global Homo sapien genome that is necessary ecologically because women can't are not natural like a woman can give birth by herself, but in a community is genetically programmed to the community that 12.5% of females born are have midwife or what would be called wet nurse or midwife or doctor genes. You can say witches, you can say whatever hateful things you want to say that have been attached to that identical gene that is 12.5% of all women, no matter where on the surface of the planet. That's the incidence rate is 12.5% of all females. In a place like China, there are five more males who are just wasting resources, literally wasting resources, like putting the entire biome of Earth into a crisis because there's overfishing. They're eating and they're not even having kids. They're born to die. That's an ecosystem and a global biome that is completely ruined, smashed to pieces, destroyed, murdered, just like females who have tetrachromia, which is at 12.5% incidence rate. And it's not only China. Anywhere where females are specifically selectively murdered and without knowledge about whether they are as a member of that 12.5% of female doctors, like genetic doctors who are and only females, that identical doctor gene, that identical surgeon gene, that's what it is. It's a surgeon gene. That's what tetrachromia is a gene that grants a person who's born with it medical, surgical instinct and knowledge, like ability. Yes, and it's not supernatural. It's not like it's totally normal. It's genetic. Okay, so when there is selective murdering of females happening, that means there's too many male mouths eating, and there's not enough food to feed that amount of males. There simply is not. Males eat way more than a female. Yeah, a female is the one who is required to keep the entire global biome in check. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Well, it's an identical genome. It's like having an identical sister, identical twin. 12.5% of a female population who have an identical segment of their genome. That's like being an identical twin. What's going to happen? Asexual reproduction is what's going to happen. I'm not saying it's not, it may involve, actually having intercourse. I'm not sure the exact, mechanics of it. However, that is what's going to happen. Why? Because the men are because there's so many men eating, just eating and eating, just eating like fucking demons. That's what they are. They're demons when they're born and there's not enough and there's not a woman there. They grow up and there's no woman. There's no woman for them. Unless it's a tortured prostitute. Literally, in poor places where there are way too many men, there's a woman who is kidnapped, trapped in a house, and she's drugged up and she's prostituted all day long. That is a fucking problem. That's evil. That is evil and is happening and it's real to female children. You would not believe. You would not believe, but you will know it now. It's a problem that can only be solved by eliminating male genome, period. Eliminating the possibility of the male genome from being reproduced by someone who's an identical sister to me, a person with an identical genome as me. That is the tetrachromia gene. Yes, the most important gene, a gene that grants a person from the time they're born to be, when they grow older, to be a surgeon instinctually, naturally, to be a doctor instinctually, naturally. So that identical sisterhood, that sisterhood of the identical gene that is required to sustain life in general, be it for men or women, males or females who are gonna, they love eating. They just love eating. Yep, they love shitting. That identical genome, that sisterhood of identical genetics, is going to eventually eliminate the possibility of male offspring. That's what's going to happen. I'm just telling you. A phenomenon. A phenomenon.